to deep dive in, just to give you a premise again, of the full moon tidings for the month. The full moon this month happens to be in the zodiac of Gemini. And Gemini, as we all know, is an air sign, as symbolic of communication, ideas, all anything and everything to do with communication, right? A bit talkative and a garrulous kind of a sign. So yes, the full moon in Gemini, it enhances that kind of the traits and the energies around our settings. And the fact of the matter is that the sun is in Sagittarius, which is the fire sign, which is a sign of passion, direction, and excitement and energy. So we would eventually be covering tarot readings for the month, be within the two spectrum, right? Now, to kind of bring it back within the realm of the tarot premise and perspective, before we go into that, we know that the full moon here is the cold moon, as I just said, that it is the super moon, the third of the trio, and significant in the sense because it is one of the last one in the year. And the other is that it is the timing as such that the Mercury has gone direct. Mercury has gone direct in the sense it has been in retrograde, and retrograde means spinning backwards. So the communication, the was a little unsettled in terms of miscommunications or misadventures, if I may say so. But now the good news is that it has gone direct in the sign of Libra. And what does Libra stands for? Libra stands for harmony. It stands for love, relationship, all things romantic, think butterflies and roses. That kind of energies are there. So within that same premise, what I have already drawn is that I have pulled out the two archetypal energies that we would be focusing as of today. So the first thing that we would focus on is the full moon in Gemini. And if any of you out there have watched my tarot archetypal series, and if not, then it is a gentle disclaimer and a reminder and a request for you to be able to watch that, because the tarot archetype for Gemini is, my dear, the lovely tarot of the lovers. So this is here it is the lovers for you. And when we say about lovers, when we draw this lovers as a tarot card also, the imageries can be a bit misleading in the sense it's not only about it's not only about the archetypal angel blessings the couple, and with all things all things fairy tale here. There is a deeper connotation to this, and the fact that these two people, it kind of takes back to again that biblical imagery of the Adam and the Eve, in that Garden of Eden, right? And this is to kind of point to that day, age, and time when the truth was laid bare. So more than the romantic aspects of it, which of course they are there, not to take that away from it, it's more to do with the card is of raw truth, honesty, and communication. And more so it is about choices, the choices that need to be made from the place of courage, clarity, and conviction, right? So with the full moon in Gemini, right, and the Gemini, the lover's archetype for the Gemini, is such that eventually it's kind of these energies get amplified, right? So when we are talking about the full moon in Gemini, one of the anchoring points of this energy, especially more so because it is the culminating month of the year, and we would like to close the year on that, as I said, lighter and joyful note, is basically to do with raw honesty, open communications, and to be able to express and voice our emotions and feelings that have been pent up, maybe all, if not throughout the year, maybe towards the end of the year, so that we can begin the next year, that is usher into 2026 on a lighter and a joyful note. So on one side of the spectrum is the lover's energy. So when to come to the other side of the spectrum, we know we have entered the month of Sagittarius, right? And again, for Sagittarius, we have this beautiful archetype of Temperance, right? So on one end we have the Lovers, the full moon in Gemini, which is the tarot archetype, the Lovers, and on the other end we have the Sun in Sagittarius, the tarot archetype for Sagittarius being the Temperance, right? Now again, the Temperance is about what? The Temperance is about harmony, balance, and integration, right? So these are within, just to again to set the premise correct, is that now for each of the zodiacs or the elements for that matter, as I always do when we will be reading for the tarot forecast and the tutorials for that matter, we would be kind of basically anchoring between these two spectrum, that is the Lovers, which is reflective of the Gemini energy, and the Temperance, the Sagittarius, which is the reflective of the Sagittarius energy, the Sun being in Sagittarius, right? So this is there. And the X factor, as always, is the Libra, the Mercury having gone direct in Libra. So of course the tarot archetype for Libra is Justice, and again it is the similar connotations with respect to the Temperance. So I'll not go there, not to confuse you, not to overwhelm you, but to keep the simples, right? So that you are able to take away, certain points, not only in terms of your understanding of tarot as self-awareness tool, because that is what we have been building these live sessions for, but more so because, do something which is very practical and grounded in terms of, assisting and aiding your journey, right? So does that make sense? So with that, so you understand the two connotations that we have dealt with. So we would be doing with each of these elements, we would be reading for the perspective from the point of view of the choices, that is the Lovers, which is indicative of choices, the truth that one must know, one must speak of, you right, for each of these elements. And on the other spectrum, we would be reading from the prism of the Temperance, which is about integration, balance, and harmony, that how you are able to bring it all together for a win-win combination, so that you are able to not only kind of you not only kind of reap and harvest the labor of love, so to speak, but as well be able to kind of enjoy it, in its all totality and glory, right? Now before we move on to actually reading for each of, because as always what I have done and I would be doing is that not go zodiac by zodiac, but we would be breaking it down into 4 elements, as I always do, so that the messages remain simple, and the messages remains not too complicated for you, not to kind of get overwhelmed with these messages and insights, right? And of course, for any and every question, you're always more than welcome to reach me directly through these Q&A chat windows, and I always I look forward to these questions, and I always make it a point to answer them at the first available opportunity, right? Okay, so these 2 things done. Now before we move onward and forward and move on to the reading for each of these elements, is that just to give you a quick recap of sorts, I hope some of you out there would have actually looked into the tutorial of the last month, and as to gently remind you, we covered the 2 steps already. What are the 2 steps for getting to know tarot better, understand tarot better? The first step being name the card, right? So what should we do? Let's pick up the Temperance, right? Because what a wonderful card, but Temperance, my personal favorite. I think that would be a bit overboard, but in because I have all 78 are my favorites in one way or the other. But yes, basically to do with the energy and the tidings of the season, the Temperance being my favorite at the moment. So just to do as a brush up course, right? What we do is that the first step, we name the card, right? So what do we see here? What is the name of the card? Chandra has pulled out Temperance. The name of the card is Temperance. The card number 14th here is the Temperance. Temper ends. Temper plus ends, right? So it has a temper and an ends. So it ends, maybe, when I say the card, then temper is something to do with my emotional landscaping, temper, anger, emotions, rage, and hence I think the balance part of it, balance, ANCE, right? So temperance is like what? So the moment you say it, the moment you are saying these names, uttering that word loud and clear, you begin to form an image already, right? Does it happen? So temperance is something telling me personally, when I say temperance aloud, in my mind, not in my mind, pardon me for that, we used to say it aloud, right? Then I am reminded of the fact that temperance somewhere is telling me to mind my temper, to kind of balance my temper. So in other words, in connotation, it is telling me to balance out my emotions. So this is what it is. So we are naming the card. So the first step itself, it allows you to get to know the stranger, right? It allows to get to come closer to the stranger. So the first step that we do is naming the card that we dealt with last time. The second is what we do is that we describe the card. We describe the card as we see it, right? So here what we see here is that we see this archangel, who's standing at the brink of this water body, okay? And this is again, wearing a white robe, she has in her hands a chalice, which is the cups in which this elixir of life. Again, okay, we are describing the card, so we do not know whether this is elixir of life. This is the water that flows from top down or top down bottom, we do not know, but it looks like a continuous flow. And then there are red wings, fiery wings, which looks a bit heavy, but it sits lightly on her shoulders. Then there is a halo around her head, and the halo is symbolic, of the sun, which is rising in the back, in the background, with blue peaks, the spiritual peaks, as we saw in the last time also we did one of the cards, right? So the blue peaks is always symbolic of the spiritual journey, right? The spiritual peaks, right? So we have this, and we have these daffodils and the green lush grass, and then we have, this is very important, is this 1/5 feet which is dipped in water, which, and the other on the ground. Again, we are not interpreting the symbol, the meaning of it, right? We are not going there right now. We're just describing the card, okay? So describe the card orally at least for 2 minutes, and write it down at least for 5 minutes. That is the given template that we discussed for the last time. So once you've described the card, and of course I'm not doing it in detail, because I'm doing it, I'm just kind of recapping what we did last time, and urging and requesting you to do it for yourself, and then you can always come back and we can exchange and brainstorm ideas and see what you saw, what I saw, what we missed, and what can be looked at from a better perspective. Once we begin to go deeper and deeper, then the higher connotations, messages and meanings in terms of visuals also will reveal to us. A magnifying glass, a good light is something which is prerequisite for describing the card, okay? So now we come to the third step that we did not take care of in the previous tutorial. And what is the third step? What we do is that we eventually go on to the third step right in the beginning, without even naming the card or describing the card, and that is the emotional landscaping. Don't we do that? That the first time we pull out a card, let's say a temperance, okay, we say, okay, it kind of invokes an emotions, and the emotional response is something which is a cornerstone of reading a card, right? Because that is how tarot, and I know of tarot, is that it reads into the subconscious. And when we are saying about it reads into the subconscious, what does it mean actually? Is that it is actually reading our emotional landscaping. So the third part is the most important part, right? For us to be able to have these insights loud and clear as far as the aspect is concerned. So basically is that it is when we talk about the emotional landscaping, now you start the emotions are something which kind of color our world, right? Emotions are something that colors a perspective, the way we look at things. Like in the description part last time, if you remember, is that one is the objective description and one is the subjective description. Objective description has to do with what actually do you see happening here, right? So maybe so basically is that when you to give you an example, again not going into the detail, is that this angelic figure is is holding chalices in her hand, and the water is flowing top down, bottom up. We do not know actually, whether this is which way it is flowing. But then we are talking about the objective description, and subjective description is that she's very, very focused and concentrated. So very stillness is there, but then this is a subjective description, which is not there on the card, but something we are able to draw inference on, right? So that is taken care of in the description part. Now come to the emotional landscaping, which is the third step that we are doing as of now, as of today. So what is it about? It is about the kind of stillness, what is going in her mind, what is the kind of imagery, that kind of the emotions it invokes on you. The person is focused. Is the person grim, or is the person someone who is deeply concentrating, and that is why she or he, because for me also it looks like an androgynous figure. Personally, when I have a close look on this card, I really don't think so whether I can classify it to be a male and a female, and that is the beauty of this card, that it does not kind of boxes itself in stereotypes, right? So because it is humanity at large, right? Does it make sense? So for temperance, for me personally, it is about, it is she or she, the figure, the angelic figure, yeah, in the picture is coming from a place of extreme concentration, because she's in the flow of life. When you, what does mean the flow of life? The flow of life is like, when you become one with the process. So for me personally, when I look at this card, when I go through the stage 1, 2 and 3 of getting to know the card, for me on the stage 3, I feel that she becomes one with the flow. And this is the deeper meaning and the significance when we draw a temperance, my dear, in the backdrop of this full moon, is that while you are called to make choices from a place of raw honesty and communication based on the value systems that you identify with, it is also very important for you to strike a balance, to be able to integrate your choices in a manner which are not trespassing or bulldozing. Does it make sense? Right? So you stand for your own values and belief system without encroaching the other person's values and belief systems. Okay? It should not be my way or highway, that is the connotation which is coming out here. So the emotional landscaping. So the third step of knowing the card is emotional landscaping, as to what is going on with the other person's mind, what is going on with what is the kind of emotions it elicits. It elicits it on you when you look at the card, right? So you write it down. Again, when you write it down, 5 minutes. When you speak it for 2 minutes. So first you will say, okay, as I just described, that I see this person and that, and she's doing that, and one feet here. And then the second part of it, that is part A of emotional landscaping. The part B of the emotional landscaping is that you imagine yourself as that person. And it is not necessary that you imagine yourself as a protagonist, as a main figure or a character. For me, I can imagine myself as a rising sun. I can imagine myself as a daffodil. I can imagine myself even as like a prickly rock over here, or for that matter, the water which is flowing and is the elixir of life, right? And then you describe it by way of first person. So first you describe the emotional description. We are not talking about the subjective and the objective description. We are talking about emotions. Now, to tell you, the emotions are very, very important, whether we are looking at temperance, or for that matter, when we're looking at lovers, the kind of emotions it elicits in you. Because emotions, as I said, they color our world, they color our perceptions, and eventually based on these perceptions we base our decisions and actions. So what happens is that, what is the beauty of a tarot reading is that once you come here for a tarot reading, it kind of let that emotion spills out, that because obviously given the situation that you are in, when you are seeking a tarot reading, we are not able to kind of ascertain or judge. We are coming from a past, we know what we are struggling with the present possibly, or even if we are not struggling, we would like to have insight into the future, right? Even in a neutral spectrum. So what we do is that what tarot does is that it allows our emotions, whether they are fear, whether they are anger, rage, the low life emotions, so to speak, or even the high life emotions like optimism, passion, determination, everything, being let threadbare in terms of these symbols and images which are coming forth, so that you are able to make an assessment of sorts, to be able to see where the energy blockages are and what can be done in order to set course the motion, in the sense, because every time when when people come to me for a reading, it is not so much so about, my dear friends, it's not so much about predicting the future, as I always say. It is more so about understanding where those energy blockages are and what you can do in terms of, in terms of making the kind of choices that allow that energy to move forward. Because see, what is emotion at the end of the day, right? Remember this, emotion is energy in motion, right? So what happens is that when you come for a tarot reading, it is these emotions, they begin to flow, they begin to flow. It gives you an opportunity for you to be able to see those emotions, by way of, by way of your objective and subjective descriptions that the reader does for you, or you do it for yourself if you are the one who are reading tarot for yourself. And then when you come to the stage of emotional description, be able to see this, from a point wherein you are having a bird's eye view, and thereby you are able to gather, because once you look at things from a distance, your emotions from a distance, then they start weighing less and less heavy on yourself, and it allows you to make a more empowered choice. And that is, my dear friends, the very essence and the reason and the purpose of these tarot readings and insights, right? So we have understood the third part. So see, again, by way of me talking and doing this preachy act, if I may say so, again, it is not going to make much of a sense till the time you actually pick up a pen and paper. I would recommend, if you are a fan of making voice notes, do that, but do something which is actually, in energy centric. You have to set the ball rolling to be able to do it, and not just intellectualize these understandings, right? So it has to be an energy in motion, remember, right? So once you do it for a tarot reading, once you come here for a tarot reading, then these emotions actually, they actually come into play, and then they allow you to be able to make the kind of choices which, coming back to the full moon that we are reading for, from a place of raw honesty, to be able to integrate, and align and balance, so that you are able to define, not only define your path, but to be able to make your path so that it allows you for a more win-win kind of an outcome, right? So the choices are yours to make, and not somebody else's who's calling the shots for you.